The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to this year's edition of the iRacing Club World Cup, and this is the quarter-final round. It is previous year's champions Finland against Brazil here in this particular oval quarter-final. I am Connery Maddock. Behind the cameras is going to be the one, the only Randy Cheneth. We're just about done in qualifying for this particular round, and it's going to be Jukka Savolainen taking pole position for Finland. We'll get onto that one in just a moment, but it does seem that, at least in qualifying, it is Finnish dominance right at the top. The Brazilians have a lot of work to do to get themselves into the semi-finals of the oval rounds. But as things stand right now, the format is going to be a three-race format, or a potential three-race format, excuse me. First race, simple does it. 20-lap sprint to the end, normal qualifying. Second heat, going to be a full reverse grid. So that means the cars will line up in completely the completely opposite order to what they finished. It's going to be absolute carnage in that particular race, perhaps in a very, very good way as well. Well, finally, the final race, if needed, will go on with another full reverse grid if the points are too close to call after the final two races. But qualifying is over. The cars will get themselves up onto the starting grid, and this is how the starting grid looks for race number one. Jukka Savolainen taking pole position for Finland. It's an all-Finnish front row as well, with Joni Häkkinen lining up right next to your pole position sitter. Petri Tiernen and Timu Ivanen will make up row two, and then we gotta look down to P number 5 to find our first Brazilian driver, Pedro Mega, there lining up right next to Sebastian Lundqvist. We've got Yuna Karima, Joni Hagner, Thiago Vera, and we've got Jere Sepala rounding out the top 10. Looking further back, you got Fabio Diaz, Carlos Luciano, Carlos Maciel as well. We've got Leandro Moira, we've got Lincoln Miguel, and Gabriel Maruccio rounding out your 16-car field for this evening's race. 8 cars from each club competing here today. And as I said just a couple of moments ago, those Finnish trucks right at the front of the qualifying grid, they've got themselves into a very, very good position to get themselves into that semi-finals. They're one of the favorites for this entire tournament. In fact, they won the last time out here in the iRacing World Cup. They've got a couple of championships to their name as well. But can Brazil pull off the upset here in the quarterfinals, as the pace car will pull away down the pit road? We have 4 Finnish trucks, right at the front of this one. Pedro Mega's job is basically to create perhaps a little bit of carnage here right at the front of the field, try and give his teammates a bit of a chance to try and overtake these Finnish drivers. But that is going to be a big, big ask, especially with the times that we've seen in qualifying. It doesn't seem like they quite have the one-lap pace to be able to challenge, but the race can be completely different. Going to be no cautions here today either. Just a 20-lap sprint to the end. No disruptions at all, as the cars will come down the back straight now, all 2 by 2. Pedro Mega just sitting in what is basically a Finnish sandwich right there, right at the front of the field. Your fastest Brazilian qualifier all alone and isolated And if the Finns are looking to be a bit mean here, they can just play a couple of games and try to shuffle him towards the back of the pack using a good deal of teamwork. We're actually going to go on board with Pedro for the start here because he is the key, perhaps, to Brazil's success in this match. But here we go. Pace car down on the lane, and Finland, they've already gone. Green flag in the air for the quarterfinals here in Michigan. Easy does it then down in towards turn number 1. Finland still leading the way. Pedro Mega on the inside of Sebastian Lindqvist here. P number 5, P number 6 as well. He'll hold the inside coming down the back straight. Lindqvist will have to check up a little bit because his teammates are going a little bit slow ahead. As up Pedro Mega, he's going to dive down towards the inside at 3 on the number 7 of Team Even, and he knows that he has to make up these early positions. He has to challenge Finland all the way to give a chance to all of his teammates behind, and that's going to be lap number 1 in the books here in Brazil versus Finland. Mega trying to make up these positions, trying to get himself up into P number 4 as it stands, still on the inside line coming through 1, still on the inside through 2. He has to be careful not to drift up too far here on the exit of the corner, but gives a good deal of space to Ivanen on the outside. By virtue of having that high line though, Ivanen will come back slightly down on the back straight, but still trapped up high as he'll get the slide on. Ivanen holds it. Does he hold it? He doesn't hold it. Slams the wall on the outside. That's going to be one Finnish driver with pretty major damage to their right-hand side as Ivanen will drop all the way back through the field, perhaps not used to running that high line, just completely losing control as we do have another car on towards the lane. That is the number 52 of Diego Vieira here, as he'll come down, and it is one forced stop that they have to do here today. They don't even have to take service while they do it, and there's no service there going on to the number 52 car. So he's come down early to get his pit stop out of the way and perhaps miss some potential carnage that could happen up front. So that could be the strategy card that is being played there by the number 52. We're going on towards lap number 4. Pedro Mega still P number 4 as the trio of Finnish machines at the front to start to edge themselves away. You have to feel, even though Mega did gain a little bit on that past lap, he just needs to dig very, very deep right now. The standings look a little bit like this. We've got Finland's top 3, then we've got Brazil, and then the 3 behind, all the way down to P number 7 are all Finland's, then 8th Brazil, 9th Brazil, 10th Brazil, 11th Brazil, 12th Finland, 13th Brazil, 14th Finland, and then the 2 Brazil cars right at the back of the field as we have another visitor on towards the lane. Then Sebastian Lindqvist down very, very early to get his stop out of the way as well. We've got a couple of Brazilian cars as well, Fabio Diaz and Carlos Maciel down in, as well as Moira. So a lot of these cars right at the back of the Brazilian pack have decided to come down in and get their pit stops out of the way. Let's see how that one works out for them. None of them are going to take service. No tires, no fuel, just a matter of abiding to the regulations, getting yourself your scheduled stop done, and then get yourself back out there on track. But battle between Pedro Mega now, the number 48, versus the number 42 of Joni Hagner. Hagner's going to have to go around the outside, the long way around on turn number 1. Let's see if he gets the run off the corners. You do see a couple of cars coming off of the pit lane. Hagner does get the run off the corner, dives down towards the driver's left-hand side of Mega then, and he's going to have the overspeed down in towards turn number 3. And I think Hagner might just have this as he just edges his way ahead. That's going to be Mega dropping back down to P number 5. In this race, as actually both cars are going to dive down on towards the lane. Mega's going to make up a good bit of time on the brakes to get himself slowed down to the pit road speed limit. But as it stands, this is going to be an interesting one, folks, especially at the front of the field. Oh, well, at least still out there on track right now, because coming through turn number 3, the number 52 of Diego Vieira is currently passing 2 finished cars. He gives the door to one of them as well. Sebastian Lindqvist going for a little bit of a slide up high coming through turn 3 and 4, but he manages to recover and dip back below his teammate. That was a fantastic move, if a little rough there by Vieira, but he does manage to squeak his way through. So that's going to be crucial points gotten there by Brazil. As Pedro Mega, he's just deciding to head his way out of the lanes. Same with the driver of Joni Hagner. Hagner has a little bit more of a gap coming on exit than he had on entry to the pit lane. So Mega has lost out pretty big here. In fact, Gabriel Marusio getting ahead of him on the pit exit there. So not the ideal stop at all for Pedro. But the race as it stands right now, we're still waiting for Jukka Salvalainen to come down in. We're waiting for Tianen as well to come down into the lane. We've got the car of Joni Heikkinen coming in. We've got Salvalainen in as well. So finally the Finnish cars are deciding to get their services done. We've got 12.5 laps remaining in this one. And we'll see how things file out then once all of those pit stop services are done. Still very close battles going on out there on track. The 52 versus the 1-2-3. This is Vieira versus Jere Sapala. Sapala's looking to get his revenge down the inside of the number 52 truck right now. He's got his number 88 teammate in tow on that lower line. Number 88 will give a little bit of a bump to his teammate there. Getting the overspeed down in towards turn number 1. Sapala on the inside, Vieira on the outside. Vieira might even lose 2 positions here. Sebastian Lindqvist is looking to make his way through, getting a little bit of a slide on down on that low line and not going to have the momentum off the corner. So Vieira is going to find himself in a bit of a Finnish truck sandwich here down in towards turn number 3. But we're still waiting for Tianen. We're still waiting for the likes of we're still only waiting for Tianen pretty much at this stage, as here comes the truck of Lindqvist down the inside, coming down the pit straight on Vieira, and you will gain the position. So those 2 positions gained by Vieira, they're going to be taken away over the succeeding couple of laps here. So the Finnish drivers definitely asserting their dominance at this stage. Pedro Mega, where was he? Because he put in that fantastic qualifying lap to split up the Finnish pack, but as a result of a poor pit stop cycle, he's dropped himself all the way back to P number 8 on the circuit right now. As we get over towards the halfway stage, Vieira is still trying to fight off these Finnish trucks, but the Finns have such speed, and it just seems that they just can't challenge at this stage. Hagner will have to stay high coming towards turn 1 and 2. He did think about diving under the number 52 truck, but that option simply wasn't available to him. It's going to be available to him, though, coming down towards turn number 3. He's going to sit in that slipstream, but does he motion to the inside? Not just quite yet. And you can argue that there's no point in being greedy right now if you're Finland, because you have the top 4 positions locked out as finally Tianen heads his way down on towards the lane. That is going to be pretty much everyone. In fact, it is going to be everyone done with their mandatory pit stops right now. So it's going to be all representative positions out there on track, no strategy to factor in. And where will Tianen file out? He might even file out into the battle that we have been watching between Hagner and Vieira. No, he's going to come out just ahead of that one, stacking up his teammates a little bit, but Hagner will finally decide to head his way down the inside of the number 52 truck, trying to find more points for Finland, even though they are about a country mile ahead in this heat at least. Off of the corner then, drag race coming down the pit straight towards the line. I wonder if the Finnish trucks will sort of dive back in line down towards, oh, that is so close between those 2 trucks down in towards turn number 1, but they managed to get away with it. Absolutely fantastic racing here in the first quarter-final, but Hagner still not able to find that position. So Vaira is doing a very, very good job here and does have a pretty good run over Tianen as he comes off of the lane. Oh, that's a late move down towards the inside for the 52. He manages to get it slowed down to run that low line, though. So surprising move, but not a reckless one at all, as he'll take the fight to the number 18 coming down towards the stripe. Vaira, can he get this position gained? Any points are crucial points right now for Brazil if you're going to try to recover something in that second race. Car length, what hard for car length, to a car length ahead as he comes on the exit of 2, but he's not quite able to slide up in front of Tianen there. So Tianen has a little bit of leeway to work with to try and defend this position down and towards 3. The longer Tianen stays up there, you could argue the sort of less pace that he's going to have as the laps go by, as finally Vaira just makes his way through. But Tianen, he does have the advantage of not being pressured from behind right now, because that's the number 42 of Joni Hagner. That is his teammate. No point in teammates fighting in a in a team race like this. I guess that doesn't have to be said. But Vaira currently the highest placed Brazilian driver, as Tianen gets a little bit loose off of 2, gives the run to Hagner, but Hagner's not going to be aggressive with him. Instead just taps his back bumper coming down the back straight. The club standings as they are right now: Finland top 3, then it's 4th place position goes to Brazil of Vaira, then it's going to be the 2 cars of Tianen and Hagner, as Tianen has a little bit of an issue getting himself off turn number 4, gives the position to his teammate. And then we've got P number 7, Mauricio for Brazil. We've got Mega for Brazil. We've got Luciano. We've got Miguel Diaz and Moreira. We've got Maciel as well. A huge train of Brazilian drivers from P number 7 all the way down to P number 13. The good thing is, though, for the Brazilian team is that the bottom 3 drivers are all Finnish drivers. So they're going to lose points in terms of that one, keeping Brazil in this. But Brazil have to be hoping now in this second race that they can hold the Finnish pack behind them, because they'll be starting in the more advantageous positions. Right now they'll be starting from 4th backwards right now, since it'll be the 3 cars from Finland going to be the front row, well, the front row and P number 3 as the starting grid for the next race. That is, of course, if the race goes on as it stands right now. But with about 3.5 laps to go, still Finland leading the way, and I don't think this one is going to change. Vaira has put out a very, very good fight in this one, but not quite able to get himself inside those podium positions, as these trucks are getting a little bit loose off of 4. Potentially very, very sketchy moments for all of them. But Vaira, he has made a couple of inroads here. Sebastian Lindqvist has dropped off the pace a little bit. Vaira catching up about 0.2 of a second over the past couple of laps. Lindqvist is going to go for a little slide going through 1 and 2. Causes Vaira to lift out a little bit, not knowing where he was going to go. This gives the advantage then to Joni Hagner, the driver of the number 42, in towards turn number 3 and 4, but simply not able to find any momentum on the outside. Instead looks towards the inside as Vaira pushes a little bit high, but that inside line not even working for Hagner either, so he simply just can't find his way by. But Vaira then looking to get himself into the top 3. He's going to have a little bit of a look down in towards turn number 1. Lindqvist might even just decide to give him the position. Here's Lindqvist. He's struggling. He's wheeling that truck all the way through turns 1 and 2. These tires are not lasting at Michigan. And Joni Hagner now going to challenge his teammate for P number 4. Hagner will slip himself ahead. But doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, since Finland are going to score a very, very healthy amount of points in this particular event. If you ask me, it's all going to come down to that race number 2, when the Brazilians will at least start in the more favorable positions. Currently leading the way, though, it is Yuna Karima, then Yeri Sapala and Thiago Vera are going to be your top 3. White flag is out there on circuit. Yuna Karima will head his way through turns 3 and 4. And Finland will pick up their first win of this quarter-final. Checkered flag out there on track. Karima will come across the line to take P number 1 from P number 7. Sepala, P number 2 from P number 10. And Vairo with a very, very good race indeed, getting himself up inside that top 3 after starting P number 9 on the starting grid. But overall, it is a finish race number 1. As the drivers will go on to their cool-down lap, preparing themselves for the second race, where we will have an inverted grid. But here's the results for the first race here in the quarterfinals. Yona Karima taking the race win, Sepala, then Vaira. And you've got Joni Hagner, Sebastian Lindqvist, Petri Etienne, and we've got Pedro Mega as well in that one, as we'll cycle the field all the way down. A pretty convincing finish win, but the upset still potentially is on for Brazil here if they have a great race number 2. It was shown throughout the race, throughout that last race, that Brazil don't have the race pace, at least on most of their drivers, to be able to challenge those Finnish trucks. But if they're placed ahead in this one, then they might be able to pull off some amazing defensive moves to try and keep these Finnish trucks behind. They basically have to defend for their tournament life, as the rest, as this race is just going to get itself started in just a couple of moments' time. There is your starting grid for race number 2. Teemu Ivanen taking, well, not taking pole position, he just happens to start on pole position for race number 2. Jukka Salvalainen, we've got Joni Heikkinen as well, but then starts the Brazilian train. Carlos Maciel, we've got Leandro Moreira, Fabio Diaz, Lincoln Miguel, Carlos Luciano, we've got Mauricio, we've got Pedro Mega, and then we've got the top Finnish drivers from the previous race, Tianen, Lindqvist, Hagner. We've got Thiago Vera as well there for Brazil, Sepala and Karima. We've got the Finnish drivers are on currently 83 points. And if I read that correctly, that's going to be 38 points for Brazil. So a comfortable advantage for the Finnish drivers right now. But they need to consolidate that lead in this second race. Full reverse grid to contend with, but the Finnish team still have their 3 drivers right at the front of the field. Down the back straight they will go. If you're wondering who the winning team from this event will take on in the semi-finals, well, that one's going to be between Canada and Northwest. Whoever wins out of that particular round will face the winner of this round in the semi-finals. Pace car down on towards the lane. Then we're all set for race number 2 in the Finland versus Brazil oval quarterfinals for the iRacing World Cup. Green flag out on circuit. We're going to go racing again. Comfortable start from the Finnish drivers up front, but Salvalainen has to push a little bit high on the race start. Gives Maciel the chance to head his way down towards the inside, but simply does not have the speed on the exit of turn number 2 to be able to challenge down in towards 3, as he'll still try to search for that inside line, will Maciel, but simply not drawing himself alongside at this moment in time. Looking further back, though, we've had red cars come down on towards the pit lane already. Pedro Mega, we had Vieira as well, Karima, Sepala, they're all on towards the lane at the end of the first lap. So this is even much earlier than we saw in the first race. And we saw that also that drivers that did pit earlier on in that last race actually found themselves a little bit further ahead than those that had pitted later. So that it could be the strategy call from both those two Finland drivers, those two Brazilian drivers as well, as they will not take any service once again. Why would you in a race as short as this and get themselves back out there on circuit? We've got side by side on pit lane, Luciano versus Joni Hagner battling down on that pit lane, but we've got battling out there on circuit as well. The AA of Sebastian Lindqvist trying to defend from the 53 of Moira, but Moira is going to drop back a rate of knots coming off of turn number 1 and 2, even having his teammates dive down his inside. In towards 3 right now. It's very interesting indeed to see those early stops, to see those strategies play out as Mauricio will head his way down on towards the lane and trying to get that car stopped for those yellow cones. I think he only just does, so won't get a pit lane speeding penalty as a result of that one. But we have still those leading trio of Finnish trucks. We've got Timo Ivonen, Joni Heikkinen and Salvalainen as well. A very, very comfortable back gap all the way back to Carlos Maciel as well. So Maciel not able to make much inroads on those leading Finnish cars right now, as one of them will dive on towards pit road. That's going to be Joni Heikkinen getting himself his mandatory pit stop service done. He will be joined by Lincoln Miguel as well. So most of these pit stops are being done within the first 5 laps of this 20-lap event. In fact, the majority of cars have made their way down on towards the lane at this moment in time. But these Finnish drivers are so confident. They know that they've been in World Cup Grand Finals galore over the past couple of years, and have even found the championships over the last couple as well. So they'll be very confident of getting this quarterfinal over and done with, getting onto the semis, getting that out of the way as well, and finding themselves in yet another grand final. But they just can't be complacent right now. We can see we have had upsets in the World Cup before, of course, with a couple of teams finding race wins just out of nowhere. But we have Petr on the lane. We've got Moira as well taking his pit stop service. So the cars that haven't pitted are Ivonen, Salvalainen, we've got Maciel, Diaz and Lindqvist. All have not decided to head their way in just yet, as I think the battles will start to flare up again once all of these pit stop services are done. Petr rejoining the track on the back straight, as is mandated by the new iRacing exit system, where you do have to get yourself between that blue cone before you rejoin the racing circuit. Javier Diaz gets himself stopped in his box, so the number 78 truck will get their service done. It's a little bit long, did take about 3 or 4 seconds to get that service done, and I think that's just because that some of these guys are actually taking windshield tear-offs, which does add a little bit to a stop time, so you're better off perhaps just unchecking that and then getting the faster stop unquote times, quote unquote times, as a result of that, so the pit crew doesn't have to do any service to the car whatsoever. But Salvalainen, Lindqvist, they found the pit lane as well, as this race number 2 has not gone the way of the Brazilians, you have to argue. Currently is Carlos Maciel at the front of the field with, in P number 2, Timo Ivonen leading the way, Salvalainen, P number 3, Heikkinen, P4, Hagner, all the way further back. It's just all Finns pretty much inside the top 10 here. Only 3 Brazilians inside the top 10, so I don't think we're going to get a third race here today, with the points being the way that they are. But we still have half of this race to go. Close battle between the 0-4 and the 1-2-3. This is Mauricio versus Eres Sepala. Sepala looks like he has the much faster truck at this stage, 0.3 of a second faster on that last lap. He'll perhaps look for the move at some point, maybe coming down in towards turn number 3 this time. Not close enough to make a move down in towards turn number 1. Your leader has headed his way onto the lane. That's Teemu Ivanen. So the only driver that hasn't pitted yet is your now race leader, Maciel. But here we go, Jere Sapala down the inside then at turn number 3 of Mauricio. So the number 4 will have to defend from that outside line. The 1, 2, 3 struggling a little bit to keep it on the bottom. They're just drifting up a little bit, but the space was given by Mauricio, so there wasn't contact coming through the corner. And now Lindqvist is going to give a little bit of a bump to his teammate, just giving him a little bit more momentum down the straight, giving him a little bit of a move on. Still finished dominance, and that is kind of what we expected in this particular round. Such a strong World Cup team. They get everyone out there practicing. They get everyone that is a name in Finnish sim racing out there as well. It's a point of pride for the Finnish club in iRacing, and if they race like they are right now, then they're looking confident to maybe take yet another championship. But they have very, very good challengers indeed. The DH team have been a challenger in recent years. The UK and Ireland team as well. We've got Team Northwest and Team Canada that on occasion can pull out fantastic results. So it's not going to be clean sailing all the way to a championship for the Finnish team. They will have to fight for this one, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty clean sweep here in the quarterfinals. Brazil simply cannot reply to the pace of the Finnish drivers. The highest placed Brazilian driver currently battling right now with Petri Tianen. This is going to be for P number 6 out there on circuit, and Vieira just simply just not able to do anything. They're just being outclassed by the Finnish team at this moment in time, but defensive line having to be taken on that inside line for Tianen. Vieira having to going quite high on entry, looking for that mid-corner speed. Tianen very, very loose coming through the middle of the corner. Vieira will head his way down driver's left-hand side, all the way down the back straight. Will have the inside for turn number 3. Can he get in the position? So close to making contact on entry to the corner, but Vieira manages to squeak his way through. Maybe racing for pride right now if you're Team Brazil. This is not the race 2 that they wanted. They wanted to start from a position of power from that reverse grid and try to keep, as a team, to keep all those Finnish trucks behind. But since most of them pitted early and didn't even pit on the same lap either, it meant that these Brazilian trucks just got spread out, and they just got spread out and they weren't able to work as a team to keep these Finnish trucks behind. But we have the top 8 on screen. 7 of those cars are Finland drivers. The only Brazilian driver, Thiago Vera, inside that top 8 says, I think this one definitely going to be secured for the Finnish team right now. There are no cautions in this race to be able to mix up the field. We haven't seen any major incidents either that can shake things up. It's all being clean sailing for these teams right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to change as Petri Tianen. Oh, we do have a spinner though. That's going to be one of the Brazilian trucks. That is the number 14 of Maciel. What has happened coming out of turn number 2? I think he simply lost it on his own coming through here. Just very, very gradually got away from them, got down on towards the apron, but once he got down onto there, the truck just didn't want to play nice and spins it right around. So absolute disaster for Brazil. With 5.5 laps remaining, it is all Finland at the front. Whether it be all Finland throughout this tournament, that is a completely different issue indeed. But battle for the race lead then, I guess. We'll have to look out between the two teammates. Joni Hagner versus Joni Heikkinen. Are they going to fight this one out just between themselves, knowing they have the points advantage? Of course they're going to fight it out between themselves. So the number 4 versus the number 42. Two teammates battling it out for fun at the end of this quarterfinal. Heikkinen down towards the inside, gains the position over Hagner, but can Hagner fight back off the corner? That is going to be the issue, as I was a little bit behind on my particular picture, so Hagner has made his way through. Joni Hagner, Karima are your top 3 machines right now, and doesn't look like that's quite going to change. As further back through the field, we are having a battle between Petri Tianen and Lincoln Miguel here through turns number 1, 3, and 4, as Tianen will get swamped by those 2 Brazilian drivers. 3 Brazilian drivers will make their way through. Good chunk of points gained by Brazil, but that is definitely still not going to be enough to get themselves into that semi-final. 3.5 laps to go, and Brazil have to be praying that something happens to that Finnish stranglehold right at the front, but I simply don't think it's going to happen. Finland just showing a dominance in these knockout rounds. Karima, though, going for a slide, coming through turns 3 and 4. Maybe showing off a little bit there. He doesn't need to push hard. The point advantage is just huge for that Finnish team, so you don't need to go 110%. You can just pretty much park the bus all the way to the end. Maybe have a few fights for fun with your teammates. Make sure you don't have any contact between them, though. But I guess for the race leads, Joni Heikkinen and Joni Hagner, the battle between the 2 Jonis through 3 and 4, they will go. 2 laps remaining as they come up towards the line. Come on, guys, give us a show before this race is done. But it doesn't look like right now. Joni Hagner just dropping back a little bit, coming into 1 and 2. Battle between the 2 Finnish drivers behind, though. Salvalainen and Karima might just go at it before this race is done. And why? 7 of Finland's 8 drivers are in the top 8 cars. That is a stat line. That is absolutely brilliant for the Finnish team. So the entirety of the top 7 are Finnish drivers. And Petri Tianen, the car that's not in that top 7, currently P number 11. So I think this is one of the most convincing wins that we have seen in World Cup history. White flag out there on circuit. Joni Heikkinen leading the way out of turn number 2, down the back straight. And this is all that Finland could have asked for in this quarterfinal. No dramas, no issues, just absolute stranglehold on this race. Through 3 and 4 comes Joni Heikkinen and the rest of the Finnish crew. Out of turn number 4 comes Joni Heikkinen. Heikkinen will take the checkered flag here in the second race. Hagner coming across the line second. Salvalainen and Karima P number 3, P number 4 as well. Ivanen P number 5. Just a dominant display. I don't know what else to say in this one. Only 12 points were scored by Brazil in that race. That is a very, very tough one to take, as the Finnish drivers will line up on the back straight, then get those photo opportunities, boys. You had a fantastic race. You weren't even challenged for any reasonable number of points. It just gives us a little bit of a chance to go over those particular results. Joni Heikkinen taking the race win from Finland. Joni Hagner, Jukka Salvalainen, Joona Karima, Timu Ivanen, Jere Sapala, Sebastian Lindqvist, and then you get your first Brazilian driver in P number 8, Lincoln Miguel, Carlos Luciano, Gabriel Mauricio, Petri Tianen, the last placed Finnish driver, still P number 11, but you've got Moyera, Pedro Mega, Thiago Vieira, who had a fantastic race in race 1, but simply wasn't able to find the gear in race 2. Carlos Maciel and Fabio Diaz will round out race number 2 here for the iRacing Club World Cup. But that's going to be all we have time for this particular quarterfinal. We won't have a race number 3. The points gap is just so mind-bogglingly big that mathematically Brazil can't even come back from this one. So that is going to be us done. I've been Connery Maddox solo broadcasting this one. We've got Randy Cheneth on the cameras. We'll see you for the next quarterfinal. Goodbye.